There are a number of reasons why people overspend, and I've identified 10 key reasons that may help people out there identify what their relationship and problem with overspending may be, because I believe that by identifying it, we can address it. If we understand the underlying cause of what is leading us to a certain behavior, we have more chance of fixing the problem. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, Frugal. So in my last video, I was talking about consumerism and how it's designed to keep you broke. And it looks like it resonated with a few of you. Looking at the comments that I received, I can see that a number of you agree that consumerism is definitely designed to keep you broke. But one comment in particular really caught my eye because a woman was talking about how she was caught in that consumerism trap. She had a lot of debt, but she kept buying, and maybe she didn't understand how. So in this video, I thought we would explore some of the underlying causes of overspending, and I hope the woman that left the comments sees this video because it might help her identify what is going on in her situation. You'll notice in the title that I've called this part 1, because in the second video, so part 2, I will give you some tips as to how you can get a handle on your spending and break the cycle of overspending that some of you may be in at the moment. After that, we can look at tackling debt in more detail before we then look at moving to a position of financial security. So if you like the idea of this series, please do give me a thumbs up. Now, before we jump into this, I think it's really important to say that there is nothing wrong with spending money. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. There's especially nothing wrong with spending money on the things that you enjoy, the luxuries in your life that improve the quality of life, that put a smile on your face, that just make everything a little bit easier and a little bit better. The actual issue lies with spending so much money that we fall into debt because we're spending money that we don't actually have. Or we're spending money that we do have, we don't have debt, but we are creating an obstacle to saving and investing because we have no disposable income left, thus potentially leading to financial insecurity if you have an emergency. Now, the other thing that I want to clear up, just so we're all on the same page, is that overspending is not necessarily the result of one big purchase. Instead, it's the small repeated purchases that we make that build up into an unmanageable situation. That is the hallmark of overspending, not knowing when to stop. So the first thing I want to talk about is conformity. In my recent video, I inferred that consumerism was really driven by the need to keep up with the Joneses. But that doesn't really take into account the nuance of being a human being. However, it is a key driver of overspending, so I do have to start with that. There was a time when the only flashy, extravagant, rich people that you saw were on TV, in movies, or in magazines. Those were the people that seemed to have the wealth. They had the ability to buy whatever they wanted, the cars, the homes, the clothes. They were aspirational, but they were beyond the reach of most of us. We kind of understood that these celebrities, actors, or just rich people were not like us, and so it wasn't reasonable to think we could have what they have. But today, with our access to social media and with reality TV driving celebrity culture, it's encouraging more and more of us to see what was once not normal as the normal way of living your life. And because more and more people are working to live up to the expectations of ownership and status, more and more of us are trying to fit in with those normal people around us. And so we start to conform as a society in order to fit in. Conformity is a normal occurrence in most societies. We use it to bond, to feel like we've made it, and also to deal with feelings of jealousy and envy. What we also know from a societal point of view is that generally standing out is not encouraged, because standing out is suggesting that you are making a statement of individuality. And I think we can all identify the groups of people that are mistreated, held as pariahs, or othered because they don't fit into the majority. So even in terms of spending, some people find it really difficult to live by their own personal principles for fear of not fitting in. So the second reason is avoidance. Psychology today describes avoidance coping as choosing your behavior based on the need to avoid or escape certain thoughts or feelings. So with money and spending, this can take the form of financial denial. And for people that struggle with financial denial, facing their financial problems or applying discipline around money may be next to impossible, because denial here is designed to protect the individual from feelings of shame, inadequacy, regret, or anger. Unfortunately, people in this camp will completely check out as a reaction to the anxiety caused by thinking about debt or overspending. A few signs that you or somebody you know may be in financial denial could be that you do not open your bank statements, credit card statements, you only look at the minimum balance that you have to pay, but everything else that's been spent you completely ignore. You may be shifting money from credit card to credit card in order to deal with the interest, or borrowing from friends, family, or the bank in order to cover your spending. You or the person that you know may have no idea of the scale, the magnitude of your debt, or have an idea of what it would take to actually pay it off. Because of the anxiety it causes, you avoid talking about money, but if you have to, you keep telling the people around you that everything is fine. Finally, despite evidence to the contrary, you just believe that everything is going to work out in the end. Today, we mostly live in cashless societies. When was the last time you went to a hole in the wall, an ATM, for anybody that doesn't understand what I said, and took out enough money to last you a day or even a week? Most of us now use a debit or credit card to pay for almost everything. Because we are using plastic, especially credit cards, we do not have to be as careful with our budget as we would normally be. We don't have to be as careful with our budget because we usually have credit limits and overdrafts that buffer in case we go over the actual amount of money we have available to us. But more significantly is the concept of coupling, which is the pain associated with spending money. When you have physical cash, you are more likely to know the value and the cost of what you're buying before you hand the money over to the other person. Whereas with a card, plastic, there is less pain associated with that transaction. So it's much easier for you to spend more money than you ordinarily would if you had to hand over a £50 note, or if you had to pull out 100 for that thing. You stop thinking about the value because you can't see the cash. Uber is a great example of this. Before the existence of Uber and all of these app services, you would call a minicab or a taxi. Maybe the minicab office would tell you how much your journey would cost, or more likely, you would have a meter in the car and it would tick as the journey was going. And if you were anything like me, I would watch that meter and I'd be like, oh my God, stop going up. Why is it going up so quickly? The driver's taking the piss. He's going the long way so that I spend more money, and paying at the end of the journey always hurt. But now with an Uber, you can link a card to it. You call the Uber, yeah, you know how much it costs. You jump in the car, you don't really think about it. They take the money from you at some point. There's no transaction. It is a lot easier. And so what happens? You take more and more Uber journeys because the pain associated with paying for the service is removed. And it encourages you to use the service more and more. Uber makes more money and you then have less money. But if you physically had to give that money to a minicab or a black cab, you would likely think, this costs too much money. You would likely question the decision and get the night bus instead. And that's just how that works. So number 4 is poor impulse control and the need for immediate gratification. Here, people forego the future benefit of financial security for the less rewarding but more immediate benefit of spending money on stuff that doesn't necessarily serve their long-term purpose. Now, for some people, these immediate benefits may actually seem more rewarding, full stop. which suggests that they may have a lack of responsibility for themselves and their own lives, and the mentality of living for today, which will hurt them in the future. Now, I've made a whole video on the need for discipline and sacrifice for financial security. I will link it in the cards above and also in the description box below. Please do check that out. I understand the discipline and sacrifice is uncomfortable. You are foregoing a number of pleasures for a period in the future, but really it is the only way to achieve financial security, regardless of whether you have side hustles, you're saving, you're investing. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. If you can't take the responsibility and keep the money that you're making, you won't ever get there. So check that video out. Number 5 is really about our childhood. We as adults are the sum of our upbringings. So our parents' attitude to money will have a huge impact on how we view money and deal with money as adults ourselves. So if your parents were extremely frugal and refused to spend money on even the cheapest luxuries for you, you may overcompensate and overspend and treat yourself as a response. FYI, I will be making a video on the dark side of frugality, because though it's the way I live my life, there are some definite negatives to living a frugal lifestyle, and there are some people that take it too far. So I will be addressing that in an upcoming video. Watch out for it. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Equally, if your parents spoiled you rotten and gave you everything that you could dream of and more, as an adult, you may feel entitled to those luxuries that you became accustomed to, whether you can afford them or not. And so you keep spending to replicate what your parents were able to do for you. A final point on our parents is that for most of us, we were not provided with sound financial education growing up. We were not given money management skills. So coming into adulthood, getting your first salary, years, maybe decades into your working life, you actually may be money foolish. You just don't know how to plan or manage your money. So number 6 is that money gives you a sense of power. Some people unfortunately feel the need to spend money on others as a way to either control them, influence them, or even just be seen as valuable to them. So because money gives them relevance, they have to keep spending regardless of whether they have it or not, for fear of fading into the background. So number 7 is self-esteem. How you feel about yourself will have a direct impact on how you spend money. Do you have low self-esteem? You may find yourself buying things in order to achieve a certain status, or be seen in a certain way so that other people hold you in good stead, because you don't hold yourself in that position to begin with. If other people co-sign you, then you can feel better about yourself. Related to this is number 8, which is depression or low mood. Retail therapy is touted as a great self-care method. If you're feeling down, you're feeling blue, you don't quite feel yourself, you go out to the shops and you buy things so that you can get that dopamine hit. It's the treat yourself, pick yourself up method. And if that's the only way that you can cheer yourself up because you're feeling a little blue, you've had a bad day, it may be your constant go-to. Rather than dealing with the thing that's causing the issue in your life, dealing with the underlying depression, you may keep buying just to get that happiness hit. So your spending may either be a cry for help or because genuinely it is the only thing that can cheer you up. So the 9th and final reason why people overspend is due to boredom. Boredom covers a range of things, from being at home with nothing else to do, so you're scrolling online and you buy some things, to you are waiting to meet some friends and you're out and about in town, and rather than just sit waiting and looking like a little bit of a lemon, you actually go into a shop. But window shopping isn't enough for you. You want to actually pick something up, so you buy something to actually while away the time. It could be that friends have invited you out and you've been so bored that even though you don't have the money, you decide to go out for something to do. People can use spending to alleviate boredom in all manner of ways, because it's quite difficult to sit with ourselves with nothing to do. So for many of us, spending usually solves that problem. Okay guys, so that was the end of the video. If you think I missed any reasons why you might be overspending, please drop down in the comments. I want to make sure in my next video that I'm providing high value, good quality tips that you can actually use to break the cycle of overspending. So if I've missed anything, please let me know and I can address it in the next video. If you enjoyed this video and if it helped you identify something in yourself, give me a thumbs up and share it. If you have friends or family that may need to look at themselves in the mirror before they can start tackling what they're doing with money, share this video with them. Pass it on and get them to subscribe, because it will encourage me to keep going and make that second video. But until then, thanks. Bye.